Number 10. So we have one more after this, so hang with us here. Number 10, the argument from religious experience. He says, now the argument from religious experience, many people have claimed to have had a personal experience or encounter with God, and therefore he must exist. Well, he doesn't like this one either, right? But the feeling of having met God must not be confused with the fact of having met him. So he distinguishes between feelings and fact, right? He says this is a confusion, semantic confusion, right? Some semantics has to do with meaning of words and stuff. And also, we cannot use our own feelings as if they were valid information about the world. They are feelings that we have inside of us, but you cannot demonstrate them to another person. They cannot be used as evidence. So there it is. You can't use religious experience because it's just a feeling. Right.
There was a bank robbery, and as I was with some friends out back in the alley going to lunch, I ran into a masked person who said, "Out of the way, I just robbed the bank. I have to get out of here."
And he points a gun at you.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to tell the cops that, and they're going to go, "Listen, we don't know that. You can't use your own experience for that. You might feel like you've encountered the bank robber, but we're not going to take you seriously. So you can't prove that you ran into the bank robber, so get out of here. We're not going to talk to you." That's
exactly just a feeling.
That's how people. That's definitely how people use it. Again, like you could critique these 11 different arguments. There are critiques for it, and some we'd be happy to even bolster and agree with. But these are just lazy ways of finding the lowest common factor and then attacking it. So it's just poor here.
And Bonson would say, according to Pillows here, Bonson would agree that given the obvious point that the presuppositions rejects the historic theistic proofs, right, let alone internal reference points. So Bonson would suggest, yeah, I agree. You can't trust, this kind of argumentation. But Bonson would also agree that, the presuppositionalist rejects all of these theistic historic proofs. And so, yes, good for you, Stein.
Yeah, we agree, but completely different
That's
levels.
right, yeah.
Well, and then the 11th one is our good friend Pascal. And just go to YouTube and in the magnifying glass on the Cave of the Cross page, if you type in Pascal's wager, we've done a number of videos on it and you can find them as well. But Dr. Stein has an issue with Pascal's wager. He gives it here and he says that Pascal's wager is the last of the 11 arguments. I hear this a lot on the campuses. It says that since we don't know whether God exists or not, we have no way of finding out in this life. We have nothing to lose by believing in a God. On the other hand, you have a lot to lose if you do not believe in a God, and there later turns out to be one after we're dead. Those are the two strands. So either God exists or he doesn't exist. If he doesn't exist, then whether or not you believe in him has no bearing, and you're just worm food at the end of life anyways, and it doesn't really matter. But if he does exist, then it's better for you to bet that he does exist because the ramifications of it are poor against you if you are rejecting it. But again, I guess it depends on which version of God you're believing in, and so Dr. Stein could probably just hand wave this way very easily.
And that's what he does.
What God?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what he does.
And in fact, that's exactly what he does. So he says, well, if this one's true, then number one, you are right about a God, and secondly, you have to have picked the right religion. So you have to be right about God in general, and then you have to have picked the right God to believe in as well, the right religion. Because you might wind up on Judgment Day and be right about God, but pick the wrong religion.
And then down you go, he tells us.
That's right. Pill's comment here before we end is, from a biblical perspective, Pascal's wager is erroneous wager altogether and should be rejected. And why is that? Well, because Bonson is a biblical Christian who wants to wave his Bible and say, this is the God that I believe in, then Romans 1 and Psalm 19 tells us that all people know the triune God exists. And so, again, this is why we can't put down the Bibles.
The truth, right?
So in order to suppress it, you have to have contact in some fashion. So there's still that contact to suppress it. So, if this version of God doesn't exist, then, that's neither here nor there. But if this God does exist and the person holding to it that you're talking to has these presuppositions in mind, then that's the version that is going to be argued. And of course, because why pick a position that you don't really hold to? Pick a position that you do hold to and then argue for that. That's the whole point of the debate. And so Bonson's also going to agree with me that that's the whole point of the debate.